Hey, Dr. John Finn here. Welcome to the Habit Mechanic podcast. Right now, you can get my new best-selling book, Train Your Brain for the AI Revolution, at tougherminds.co.uk. The digital book, audiobook, and physical book are all available at a special price that you won't find anywhere else.
Hello, Habit Mechanics. It's Dr. John Finn here. I hope you're having a fantastic week so far. Excitingly, I'm going to share with you right now the recording from our webinar that we ran earlier this week. The title of the webinar was Save 3 Hours Daily, Master 3 Super Habits with a Science-Backed 3-Step Process. Where this podcast rather, a podcast of a webinar, is only going to be up for a limited amount of time, and I think it's going to come down next week, so listen whilst you can. We go deep into the habit mechanic approach and how your brain works, and thinking about it like a battery, and talking about how to get the right balance of brain states across every 24-hour period. So get you thinking about your brain state profile. There are some tests that we talk about in the session. So what I've done is beneath in the notes, in the show notes, I've put a link to an actual video recording of the webinar where the tests are linked beneath the video. So if you want to take the test and really immerse yourself, then you can. So that's it. I hope you enjoy it. And any questions as ever, you can actually contact us beneath the podcast. You can text messages or you can email us via the Tougher Minds website. So enjoy. Bye for now. And if you're not happy with your brain state optimization score, don't worry. You can improve it. And you're only ever one habit away from making it better. Bye for now. Enjoy.
Welcome to today's session. This is what we're going to cover. We're going to think about how we can save at least 3 hours every day by learning how to build new super habits. And we're going to focus on our 3-step habit building system. So in case we haven't met before, my name is Dr. John Finn. I'm the founder of Tougher Minds. And I'm also joined today by my colleague, Andrew Foster. Andrew's our head of coaching and education. Andrew's worked with us for about 15 years now. And you're going to hear from him later on, and he's going to facilitate questions, etc. So we are going to ask you to do some tests and some activities during this session. So it'd be great if you could take notes, and that's going to give you the best chance of getting the most out of this. So I've worked in the fields of resilience, performance psychology, leadership for nearly 25 years now. I've got 3 degrees in these areas, including a PhD. So everything we talk about is rooted in the best science that we understand, but we've crafted over the last, nearly 25 years, simple and practical ways to put that into practice so we can actually make purposeful change in our lives. And you may have seen some of these approaches before when... Oh, my slides are frozen. Let me do this. Okay, you may have seen some of these approaches before. If you've read my best-selling book, The Habit Mechanic, so I know lots of people on the call have read that or they're reading it. Also, we have the Habit Mechanic University app where you can become a certified habit mechanic, and we've got people on the call who I know are using the app, which is great. So you may have tasted some of these ideas before, but hopefully today we can just give a slightly different way of thinking about things. So I want to get practical straight away. We're going to get you doing our destructive habits test. Now, I'm going to share this in the chat, a link so you can take this test. And if you can't see the chart, because some people won't be able to, then you'll be able to take the test and see a link to this below the video. So let me show you what to do. It's pretty self-explanatory. So if you load the page and you just press take the test, then you're going to see a series of self-reflective statements, and you can score where you think you are on each one, and you're gonna come to a scorecard. So I'll let you do that. Just going to get you thinking about what do you want to work on, what do you want to prioritize building better habits around. So over to you. So we're looking for the high scores, and we might start to see a pattern between the things that we want to work on. But the thing we need to recognize is we can't work on everything at the same time. But if we write down the areas that we want to work on, we can start to prioritize, filter. We can start to think about why we want to work on these areas. And I'll explain the significance of that later. And then we need to start thinking about what are the destructive habits that are causing these problems, and we'll unpack some of that today. And we're going to think about how to start using super habits to replace those destructive habits. And we're not only building super habits, but starting to build super habit routines. So what I hope this destructive habit self-assessment does, it just gives you a clear focus of what you want to work on. What are the barriers to you being at your best? And we'll be able to filter that down into some very specific things that you can start to do differently as we go through the session. So I hope that's got everybody thinking. So this is a range of the people that we work with. We started our business in elite sport, and then we transitioned that into education, and then we now also work with big corporate businesses. All of these businesses have the same issue, and that issue is that brains are running their organizations, they're running their teams, they're running their individuals. We don't often think of it in these terms. And what brains do are not logical, they're not conscientious, they're not well-intended. Brains just do what they do. And what we're seeing is that it's harder than ever before to get our brains working well because of all the things that are going on in our lives, in the VUCA world that's now got the post-pandemic world plugged into it. I call it it's the VUCA world on steroids. And essentially it just means it's harder to get your brain working well. So when our brain is working well, it's easier to be healthy, happy, and at our best. But when it's not, when we're overwhelmed, when we're overstressed, it stops working properly. And that's problematic. And this is not just an individual issue. This affects your business, it affects your team, it affects your family units, because even if one individual's brain is not working particularly well, it has a negative knock-on effect for other brains. So if we just take this example, imagine you're in a team and your senior leader's not functioning very well. So instead of their brain looking like this, it looks more like this. It just makes it more difficult to communicate and collaborate with everybody else, which is the heartbeat of why teams are powerful, because we can communicate, collaborate to solve, complex problems. And there's just a constant flow of complex problems coming at us all the time in the world that we live in. And what's happening is that it's becoming easier to develop these, what we call destructive behaviors, destructive habits, which include things like beating yourself up and procrastinating and worrying and getting stressed. And we don't normally think of these things as habits, but they absolutely are. So our brain is made up of about 100 billion neurons, and these neurons are like plasticine. They change in accordance with what we practice. So when we practice worrying and beating ourselves up, we grow and strengthen our neurobiological connections for those things. So that's what's happening. And a really simple way to think about this is that there's only 24 hours in a day. That's all we've got. And we can either be doing things in that 24-hour period that are helping us to be at our best, or we can be doing things in the 24-hour period that are making it more difficult for us to be at our best. So we can think of the red lines, or let's start with the blue lines. We can think of the blue lines as representing the times in the 24-hour period where we're thinking and doing things that are helping us to be at our best. That includes good quality sleep, managing stress well, being focused and productive, being a good leader, manager, if that's part of what you do. The red lines are the opposite. So they're times in the 24-hour period where we're thinking and doing things that are making it more difficult for us to be at our best. So that includes things like poor quality sleep, worrying and beating ourselves up too much, procrastinating, eating the wrong kind of things, not exercising properly. And what we're seeing is that it's just becoming easier and easier to get more and more red lines in every 24-hour period. We can see this through big sets of data. So the NHS are telling us that in about 15 years' time, 1 in 6 people in the UK, working age people, will have a long-term illness, from dementia to cancer through to anxiety and depression. We can see right now that in the UK, we've got over 20,000 people per month being signed off on the sick from work purely with mental health problems, which is classed as a disability. So we are getting huge sets of data showing us that people really are struggling. And we can see that economically, so in order to pay for things like the NHS, obviously we have to have a really thriving economy. These issues are costing us over 300 billion annually. So this is a seismic problem. In the US, it looks very similar. This is recent data out of the Brookings Institute. So we can see that in the US, there's 23% of working age adults have a mental health diagnosis. That's 58 million adults. And we can see that if you get a mental health diagnosis at certain ages, that by the time you get older, your average earnings are 24% lower than people that didn't have a mental health diagnosis. So we're seeing this not just impacting people's well-being and happiness and performance, it affects what goes in their pocket as well. It affects the economy. So these are real issues. So in summary, it's just more difficult, I would argue, than ever before in the history of Homo sapiens to be healthy, happy, and at our best. But fundamentally, it's harder to get our brain working really well. And it's important to recognize this is not just a short-term problem. So if your brain is not working well today, it doesn't just impact the next 24 hours or the next week, it impacts your long-term health. So we can see clear relationships between brains not working well in the short term and onsets of diseases like dementia, depression, cancer in the long term. So this is a huge, huge problem. And I think it's often, people that are managing others, parents, etc., people that are responsible for other people that are bearing the brunt of these challenges. And you may be thinking that there's loads of support here for helping people to do better, but we're still getting the problem of people's brains not working well, and people getting more and more red lines in their 24-hour period. And it's going through the destructive habits test that we just did. That's like helping you to identify some of these red lines. We do live in a period of history where there is more support to help people to do better. Absolutely. There's more psychologists, therapists, counselors, coaches. But the bad news is that what is being administered doesn't help people to do better. And I'll show you the data to support that. So tricks, tips, and hacks, these are doing more damage than good, is what I see every single day, because people try a quick fix, it fails, and people then feel worse about themselves and they continue to practice unhelpful ways of thinking and doing, and those neurobiological connections in their brains get better at doing those things. What about talk therapy? People talk about talk therapy. We need more talk therapy. We need more talk therapy. It's seen as the gold standard at helping people to do better. Here's the impact that it has, and this is from a recent meta-analysis that has over 60,000 people as a sample size who are in structured talk therapy interventions. For 58% of those people, talk therapy had zero impact. And when you understand how brains work, that makes perfect sense. Just to use a slightly different example, if you want to get better at playing golf, you don't just go talk to a golf coach. You have to hit golf balls. You have to get onto the golf course and practice. And you have to practice under pressure if you want to perform under pressure. If you want to get better at managing unhelpful thoughts and behaviors, we've got to practice doing things differently. Just knowing what to do and talking about it doesn't change our behavior. We see that time and time again. And that's the problem. The focus of the support we've got to help people to think and do better is all focused. It's largely focused on knowing. This is what I learned after I've got 3 psychology-related degrees, including a PhD. I was trained up in CBT, which is seen as the gold standard of talk therapy. Sent off into the field with that toolbox, tried it out, and learned very quickly it wasn't very effective at helping people to do better. And that's why I innovated the habit mechanic approach. Why doesn't it work? Most of the things that we're using to help ourselves, to help other people to do better, is based on what we call black box theories. That means they're theories that were designed before we understood how brains actually worked. We've only been able to look inside human brains for about 20, 25 years now, and it's the most complex thing in the known universe. So most of the theoretical models that we're using to try to help people to do better are based on insights that didn't consider how brains actually worked. So that's why they're ineffective. And on top of that, what we're seeing is that the ways that we're helping people are not designed with behavioral science in mind. So this is our proprietary 9-action factor model. We can see that even what are called the gold standards of helping people, which don't have any impact on 58% of people, they only target 2 of these 9 factors. That explains why they're so ineffective. So the issue is that we're trying to help people without actually understanding how brains work. And that's why we've created the habit mechanic system. So we've developed this over nearly 25 years now. This does come from a basis of how brains actually work. And we're not just talking about being able to label different parts of the brain. We're talking about we understand how the brain works as a physiologically adaptive system. We understand the operating rules of it, the first principles, and we bake that understanding into how we help people to change their automatic and semi-automatic ways of thinking and doing, in other words, habits. Our system is based on cutting-edge insights from brain maturation science, from evolutionary science, and also from behavioral science. And over the nearly 25 years now, we've packaged all that together, the best science we understand, and we've crafted simple and practical tools that people can use in their everyday life. And we use that together to help people to become habit mechanics. And I know lots of people on the call are using these tools every day, and you're on that journey. Some people are even certified habit mechanic coaches on the call. What the system that we use is very simple. It's a 3-step system, and I'm going to show you how to use this for yourself so that you can get better at not just knowing what you'd like to work on, but actually changing your behavior. So we've already done a little bit of intelligent self-watching at the top here. We'll go through all these steps. I'll show you step by step how to do it. And then Andrew, our head of coaching and education, is going to show you actually how we do this with real people. So if we want to do better, feel better, be at our best more often, get more time back, so we're able to spend more of that 24-hour period doing and thinking things that are more helpful for us, it's about habits. Now, here's another problem. We've been missold on what habits are. The problem is that most of the information about habits in the public domain is from journalists. So we've got books, popular books like Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, great journalist, the New York Times writer, fantastic. Atomic Habit is very similar, written by journalist James Clear, really well intended. But they haven't spent nearly 25 years going deep into these areas. And what we see when we actually look at how brains work is that habits are not 50% of what we do. They're not 60%. They're not 70%. They're not even 80%. They're at least 98% of what we think and what we do. So this makes a lot of sense when we go back to the basics of how brains actually work. So this is the importance of understanding the brain is a physiologically adaptive system. Our brain's number one operating rule is to save energy. Because for most of our existence, energy has been a scarce resource. We are hunter-gatherers. That's what we're designed to do. There hasn't always been a supermarket in your local vicinity, or a Pret on the corner, or a Tesco's Express on the corner. For most of our existence, we've had to get good at saving energy. So our brain automates everything that it can. And we can see that for every 50 processes running in our brains, at least 49 are automatic, and it's probably more than that. Sometimes we're just running on 100% automatic. And again, habits are often seen as physical things. It's how you think as well. So our brain is trying to automate everything that it can, and it has a preference for what it automates because we've got a brain that's primarily designed for survival. And although it's kind of counterintuitive, worrying and beating ourselves up is connected to survival because it's our brain warning us about things, for example. Some would argue that, we're much closer to 99% and even higher than that automaticity. We have a tiny bit of consciousness here. You can just see it around your eyes. That's all you've got. Everything else in your system is running automatically or semi-automatically. Let's just do a little bit of a test here. But let me start with this. Don't think of a white elephant. You don't have to think about that. It's already in your brain. That's how automatic your thinking is. Here's another one. So just read the copy in the white lozenge, just as you would read it in plain English. What are we seeing here? We're seeing that most of what we think and do, even the basic things like reading, are not conscious. They are automatic or semi-automatic. That's why you can make sense of those jumble words fairly effortlessly. I'm going to show you another slide. I'm just going to show it for 3 seconds. Read it, and then we'll come back to it. So here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. So most people will have got a bird in the bush. A bird in the bush. Let's go back. What does it say? Says a bird in the bush. Again, demonstrating how we are projecting our assumptions onto everything, not consciously but subconsciously, because it's a familiar phrase, so we think we know what it says. So what we're seeing here is that, yeah, we have a tiny bit of consciousness. There's a tiny bit of what we classify as human nature in us, conscientious, logical, well-intended. We've got that, but actually most of what's going on is automatic or semi-automatic. So we're more like computers than we've previously understood. And again, this is running your life. It's not the conscientious, well-intended, logical part of you. It's the automatic part. So if you're running a business, your business is not being run by people as we think of it. It's being run by habits. Your team is being run by habits. Your family unit is being run by habits. You are being run by habits. Habits are not conscientious. They're not logical. They're not well-intended. They just do what they do, and they have a bias for certain behaviors, and those behaviors are often destructive for being healthy, happy, and at our best in the world we live in. So I want to help you to start identifying what those things are. So we're going to think about one of our helpful habits, or our super habits, as we call them. and what are some of our unhelpful habits or our destructive habits, as we call them. And all we're doing in this next test that we do, we're just, again, thinking about where are the blue lines, but also where are the red lines? Because if we understand where they are, we've got a better chance of getting rid of them. So let me see if I can be more successful in sharing this link to this test in the chat. Again, if you can't see the chat, some people can't, you can access this link beneath the video. So let me stop sharing this. We're going to take some questions and reflections in a while as well. So this test link here, let me pop this in the chat. So I'm hoping everyone can see this. So let me load this in my browser. And I'll show you exactly what you need to do. It's formatted very similar to the last one that we did. So here we go. Let me share this. So if you load the page, you've got to take the test button again, and then formatted very similar, but the statements are different. So I reflect on my diet, exercise, and sleep, and plan to make daily improvements in these areas. So it's not about so some of these questions will say, so I successfully plan, but you interpret the questions as you want to interpret them. If you always do that, great, give yourself a 10. If you never do that, give yourself a 1. And you just go through. If things don't connect with you or make sense, just ignore them, go to the next question, and you're going to get a scorecard at the end. We're going to add our scores up to see where our brain state profiles are. So over to you. So I can see your dialogue in there, Andrew. You might just want to share a couple of things people are saying.
Yeah, for sure. So feelings of overwhelm, resulting in a sort of vicious cycle. The more pressure you feel, the easier it is to procrastinate, which is very unfortunate because then, of course, that can exacerbate the pressure. We need to meet a deadline. We're feeling under pressure. We let even more time slide by, and now the deadline feels even tighter and even more oppressive. So that good news is, one, that's not something just you are feeling. A lot of people are feeling that. Two, we know how to help people deal with those problems, how to reduce that feeling of pressure, and how to get things done to your own deadlines so that when it comes to the external deadlines, not only are you able to meet them, you've got time to improve and submit something that's even better than when you initially finished it.
Yeah, so I think the key isn't necessarily the exact score you've got. The first thing is that you're thinking about this, and that's great because that's the first step to doing something differently.
There's a good comment here from Stuart, John, saying it highlights some areas of improvement for me, which I know anyway. Doing something about them consistently is the challenge, which goes to your point around the pictogram of the person try to step from knowing to doing. That taking that step and doing it consistently, that's about habits. So Stuart, it's all about designing habits that allow you to improve in those areas that you already know you need to do something. But if you can design the habits, then that's where you'll get the success that you're after.
Yeah, so people have a sense of where they're at, and I want to go a bit deeper into what do those scores actually mean? What are you talking about when you say a brain state management profile? So let me unpack this for you. See where this takes us. Yeah, here we go. So one of the core ways we like to explain our brains is that they are like batteries. And I mean, they literally are. They run on electricity and chemicals. And there's only so much capacity in each 24-hour period. Like, you can't be on super focused for 24 hours a day, right? Everyone understands that. So we've got a battery-like brain, and we see that we have three broad operating states. One is we can be in a recharge state. So this is an every 24-hour period. So recharge can include sleep, but also non-sleep. So it could be some forms of exercise or recharge. Could be eating. Could be just switching off, watching TV, doing whatever you do that relaxes you. The next brain state is what we call medium charge. So this is where we're doing our what we call busy, familiar work. We think of it as freezing ice cubes. This can be inside of work, outside of work. People know about doing busy work where you don't really have to think too much. People increasingly seem to be doing more and more busy work, never feeling like they're ever getting anything done, like they're always working. And then the next one, the final one, is what we call high charge brain states. This is where we're using our conscious brain. We are focused. We are doing high impact thinking. This could be creative thinking. It could be solving a complex problem. It could be learning something new. It could be working on yourself, building a new automatic or semi-automatic way of thinking or doing. And we've been doing this for nearly 25 years now, and we've worked with over 20,000 people. We see a repeat pattern that when people get a brain state profile that looks like this, and I'll put some numbers on it shortly, it looks like an arrowhead or a pyramid. This is when people are really nailing it. And this is sort of a workday profile. So what it means is that of the three brain states, people are spending the most amount of time recharging, the second most amount of time doing high charge stuff, and they're spending the least amount of time. Sorry, they're spending the second most amount of time doing medium charge stuff, and they're spending the least amount of time doing high charge stuff. So if we put some numbers on this, so approximately, the numbers might look something like this, and they're different for everybody. But people that are really nailing it, what we've learned is that they may be spending 10, 11, 12 hours doing recharge. That might be 8 hours of really good quality sleep, and then another 2, 3, even 4 hours doing other recharge activities. Then they might be doing 6, 7, 8 hours of medium charge brain state work, where they are doing that busy stuff. It might be at home, it might be outside of home. And then that means they're able to do 4 to 5 hours of high charge, high impact work. And we call this unlocking the 25-hour brain. So if we can get to the point where we're able to consistently do 4 to 5 hours of high impact work 5 days a week, then that's when we know we're really nailing it. We're getting that balance right. So I'm sure people experience getting to Friday and just feeling absolutely exhausted where they can't even get into the high charge brain state. So this is what we're aiming for. And this is the recipe for being healthy, for being happy, for being at your best. And those three things are interconnected. The key to feeling happy is once you've got your brain working well, is feeling like you're making progress. So this is what we're aiming for. The reality is most people are just doing this. They're just whirling. So when they think they're doing recharge, they're often in medium charge brain states because they're not really recharging. They're scrolling, or they're on. Their brain's still buzzing around, worrying, being stressed, whatever it is. Often when people think they're doing high charge, they're actually doing medium charge. They're multitasking. They're switching from one task to another. And that means that what we see is that the average brain state profile looks like this. It's what we call across the bear. So it's dominated by the medium charge brain states, always busy, always on, but never feel like I'm getting anything done, never feel like I'm achieving anything. This is a problematic brain state profile for two reasons. One is, if you want to be unhealthy, if you want to be unhappy, if you want to perform below your potential, then this is how to do it. Secondly, is that generative AI, and very soon, and it's already happening, agentic AI, is coming along and it's able to do this medium charge stuff that we do much more efficiently and effectively. So what's going to be happening in the future is we're going to be working less, but we're going to have to work more in these high charge brain states. So if we zoom out of this shows us a continuum of scores. I think lots of people are in the middle there, the jagged jewel. And all of the work that we're doing is we're trying to help people to move from one end of that continuum to the other. And even if you have a arrowhead profile, there's still improvements we can make because the world is aggressive and it's attacking us all the time. So even when we think we've got this nailed one moment, we can get out of whack the next. So this is a continual process. And actually what we're really talking about here is getting the right neurotransmitters into your brain, but I don't want to go into that today. But every brain state profile has a set of neurotransmitters that we need to understand how to match up those transmitters and how to get to what we call the right activation level. So that's actually what we're trying to do. What's the benefit of this? And you can give yourself a score from 1 to 10 on this continuum. So 1 would mean that you're really on that across the bare end of the scoring, so low scores. 4 would mean that you're 90 plus on the scoring. But what we've learned, again, over working with over 20,000 people now, is that even people on this end of the continuum, when they start to understand their brain states better and they start to deploy the habit mechanic tools, they're able to do an extra at least 1 hour of high impact work per day. So that's 20 hours is for a month, so 5 days a week, 20 working days a month. They're able to carve out an extra 1 hour of high impact work. 1 hour of high impact work is worth at least 2 hours of medium charge work. And often it can be worth 4 or 5 hours of medium charge work. If you're at a 3 on this continuum, you're going to be able to do an additional 2 hours of high impact work per working day. If you're at a 2, you're going to be able to do an additional 3. And if you're at a 1, you're going to be able to carve out at least an additional 4 hours of high impact work. And if you start to stack that up across the year, that adds up to an awful lot of more time of you being at your best. And if you scale that across a team and an organization, it's seismic. So this is where we're getting 3 hours plus per day. So even if you are at this end of the continuum, just by doing 1 hour of extra high impact work per day, you could easily save 3 hours. And what we mean by 3 hours per day is that you're able to do about the sort of work that normally takes you 8 hours in about 5 hours. So that's what all this stuff is driving towards. More time where you're able to be thinking and doing the things that make you happy, that make you feel good about yourself. And it's all about recognizing where those red lines are and getting rid of them. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that step by step. Before I do that, test question. What are the 3 brain states? What are the 3 brain states? Our short-term memory only lasts about 30 seconds, and we can only hold 5 to 7 bits of information at a time. So we forget more than we remember. Our brain tricks us into thinking that we have this continuous line of consciousness and attention, but it doesn't work like that. So if we want to learn, whether it's learning about the brain states or learning how to change our behavior, then focused attention is key, and repeating is key. So practice if we're trying to build a new behavior, when we're learning knowledge, writing down, making notes, discussing, etc. So I'm sure some people have posted that in the chat, but here's the answer again. We got recharge, we've got medium charge, we've got high charge. And if you got it right, you get 10 points. Well done. So yeah, I just built in a little bit of time here for any questions, reflections. I don't know if you've got anything in the chat, Andrew, or you want to add anything. I mean, you're doing this sort of work every single day.
There was so early on, Jasper said, how do I stop Slack from killing my flow? how to stop Slack from killing my flow. Obviously, I've got a few thoughts on that. I don't know what you think, John.
Yeah, well, get your brain state profiles sorted out at a high level, and then some, very specific things. I don't think I know Mihail Hylichinski, I think he's called, who popularized the concept of flow. I don't think it is what I don't think flow is really the thing that we've been led to believe it is. I don't think we're often in states of flow. I think what we're actually striving for is to get into those high charge brain states, which isn't effortless, where we're putting in effort, but we're learning, we're moving forward, we're growing. But yeah, the short answer is you become a habit mechanic. But I don't know what you were thinking, Andrew.
I was thinking that one of the challenges that I'm seeing people face is that they do sensible things to stop themselves procrastinating on non-work related tasks, but things like Slack, things like their email can be a source of procrastination, can break, can waste valuable high charge brain time because it's work flavored. It's to do with work. It's easy to build a narrative of, oh well, this is good because I'm building relationships and but the reality is it's not high value, and that's why you're feeling dubious about whether it's something you should continue with, and in Jasper's case, he said, I need to stop. So
Sorry, Andrew, I took Slack as slacking off rather than being a software
Oh,
tool.
sorry, yeah, no, Slack with a capital S. Apologies. So, stop. So, yeah, I'd be interested in the etymology, how they decided upon that as as the title of their company and of that process. I know that in some companies, Slack is a really important for communication, and so the people I'm working with, we're designing habits to work within the systems that their company use to get the absolute most out of Slack or whatever else, their emails, make sure that they're not missing vital information, but also making sure that they habitually sieve out the loss of time, the times I think Jasper's talking about where it becomes a distraction and takes them away from what they need to do in that hour, in that day.
Yeah, and I think that what you're saying there, and it's about the day, isn't it? It's not about any. It's not about Slack. Targeting Slack is like throwing a pebble in an ocean. What we need to target is our brain states across a 24-hour period and across a week and across a month. Because the fact that you're habituated to a software tool that's gamified and it's got lots of different behavioral factors going on, it's not just about the moment itself, it's about how well your brain is functioning or not. So we need to take an holistic perspective to these things. We need to go back to the 9 action factors. Slack is a trigger, which is one of the 9 action factors, and there are some reward and penalty systems in there. And we'll go on to talk about that. So it's a great example. And that's because we're being kind of conned by Instagram and gurus and websites saying, here are the tips and tricks to get more sleep. The biggest reason most people don't sleep well is because of stress. And managing stress better is not a tip or trick thing. It's a fundamental approach to getting more high quality recharge, which we teach people how to do. So these tips, tricks, hacks, they're just scratching the surface. They're not really aligned with how brains work, which is why they fail. And I think there's a big backlash at the moment, isn't there, against tips, tricks, hacks, because people feel like they're being kind of conned. So yeah, it's about the day, isn't it, Andrew? And that's what you're helping people to do. So let me go forwards on this. And I'm going to show you the 3-step process. Does this work? Absolutely. Just not me saying this, I want you to hear it from some other people. So the 3-step process I'm going to show you. I sleep better, I'm more productive. See how those things are connected? I sleep better, I'm more productive, but then I get to spend more quality time with my young family. All these things are interconnected. They're all interconnected, and that's how we present them in our program. This is actually Abby.
It feels easy to do, and the impact that it has had is cumulative.
Abby's not a new kid on the block. She's well seasoned. She's tried lots of things before. She sees this as something different, something more powerful. This is Zenyek, Chief Operating Officer. He's a guy. I'm a 4 on the continuum. There's nothing I can do to improve. After this first one-to-one session, I'm saving at least 1 hour every day. And that's 1 hour of extra high impact work, which is, when Zenyek does it, it's worth an awful lot to the organization. We haven't just done this with individuals, we do it across entire organizations. So when you help people to understand their brain state profile and you get them to work on it, it has not just individual effects, team effects across people's entire life, not just their work. So what is the system? Here it is at a high level. So all we're doing is we've already started to do this. We help you to think about your barcode in every 24-hour period. Where are the red lines? Where are the blue lines? Or in other words, where are the helpful habits and where are the destructive habits? I'm going to show you how to do this in a sec, but we've already started to do this part of it. So he's targeting, we say, right, I've analyzed my habits. Which area do I want to work on? So if you go back to your scorecard from the habit mechanic test, you'll have seen some particularly high scores on certain areas. And there'll be some probably interconnectivity between those scores. So that allows us to start targeting something. And then what we do is we work to replace that destructive habit with a super habit. And then what we do is we build more super habits, and eventually we build up what we call super habit routines. So we plug super habits together. And again, what we're doing is we're helping people to understand where they are on this continuum and moving them from the low scores to the high scores. And essentially, we're helping people to get a better balance of neurotransmitters in their brain. So here's how it works. And we've done a version of this first step already. So we don't use psychometrics because we don't think they're very helpful. They're hugely outdated. They're very deterministic. They often do more damage than good. We've created our own habit metric assessment tools. Some of the assessments you've used so far are versions of those, but we have many more. So we help people to learn about themselves in a self-determining and empowering way, so that they can get better at identifying where their destructive habits are, but also where are the super habits you've already got, which super habits might you want to build. So that's what we call intelligent self-watching. Then the next step is, whichever area people want to work on, we have a tool or a set of tools that we train people how to use. So we have tools for supercharging motivation, things like the FAM story, reducing stress, helping people to stop beating themselves up, things like our focus reflection tools for building better sleep, diet, exercise, brain health, brain performance, like our DES swap, our diet, exercise, sleep swap plan. Tools for building confidence, like our confidence profile. Tools for performing under pressure, like our performance under pressure hack. Tools for improving focus and productivity, like our willpower story tool. Same for work-life balance. Become a world-class leader if you want to go there. We have multiple tools for that, like our role model, action communicator, cultural architect, swap coach development tools. We've got team development tools like our 5-stage team power model. So whatever area people want to work on, we have a tool or a set of tools for that. We train people how to use the tool. And then we don't just leave it there. We show them how to automate the use of that tool. And using the tool is the super habit that we develop. So remember, this is the problem. We're just being given more knowledge about what we need to do, and we don't do what we know we should do. People know they should walk 10,000 steps a day and eat 5 portions of fruit and vegetables, and it's not a good idea to be worrying and beating yourself up all the time. But it doesn't mean that we do something about those things. We also need to help ourselves to get all of these 9 action factors working for us. So that's what we do. So we've created, this is our proprietary model. We create what we call habit building plan tools that get all of these factors working for you. so that you've got the very best chance of not just knowing what to do, but actually doing it consistently and building new automatic and semi-automatic behaviors. People, I know Nicole are already doing this. So our book is one guide to doing this, but it's a book, it's limited. Our app is an extension of doing that. So I know some people are already doing these things, but this is the system. Sounds simple, but it's taken a long time to put together. And it's not just about knowing, it's about doing things differently. So we want to unpack this for you, exactly how we do it. And typically we do this over a 3-month period, because we know that's the period of time that it takes to really start ingraining not just super habits, but super habit routines into people's lives. So we're going to show you exactly how to do that. But I also just want to share some simple stories of the real life benefits people get from using that very simple system and getting a better brain state balance. This is Cass.
It's a great mental and physical discipline to help you in your daily lives, whether you're a parent, whether you're a manager, whether you're an employee. It helps structure how you think about the day and what you do to maximize your efficiency. Well, certainly in my personal career, in my personal life, I've been able to apply some of the techniques to allow me to get through some challenging projects at work, very difficult times in terms of time constraints and congestion of activity in the office, and it's helped me or allowed me to focus. All of the tools and tactics taught during the program are effective in dealing with both work and life relationships, and I think it's probably as effective and needed for them, because people are time sparse, and so if you give them tools to have a more effective time at home and at work, they'll appreciate it and get more out of it.
Not just for work, it's for everything that you do. Again, Cass is not a new kid on the block. He's a highly experienced professional, and he's talking about the insight he's got from this approach. This is Karen.
The certification I recommend strongly. My brain really wasn't optimized for success. So I think if I think about the personal impact, then being more focused, looking at my activation states and really blocking periods of time to do the high focus work. And each time you're adding tangible value. So the toolkits are designed to give people actionable insights, and obviously you build on that over time. And these tools I can go back to, and actually I can use that tool maybe with the teams that I'm leading, because it is accessible and clear. 2 areas that it's helped me most in is relooking at my nutrition, and that's led to yes, me losing weight. I didn't have a lot of weight to lose, but losing it and keeping it off because I'm continuing to run the habit. And it's also, even though I exercise a lot, it's helped me to look at what exercises I'm doing, and I can feel the difference that's making to how I feel. So yeah, I'm very happy with that.
Again, Karen is a seasoned. I think Karen is a black belt, second down she's an amazing lady, and for her to be saying that she's got all these benefits from our program is just really humbling, and it's the reason we do what we do. So I'm going to hand over to our head of coaching, Andrew Foster. Andrew has worked with us for over 15 years now. His actually longest client is nearly 13 years. He's been with his longest client nearly 13 years. That's how much they value him. Andrew read history at Cambridge. He's a high performer. He also got a blue at Twickenham under 21s. So, he knows what high performance is, and he's been crafting, helping people to be at their best, to be healthier, happier, at their best more often, across all different contexts. With us for 15 years now. one of the interesting. Andrew made me laugh last week because a judge signed up to work with him, and the reason the judge signed up to work with him because he sits next to a barrister, and Andrew's been working with the barrister, and the judge has seen the transformation in the barrister's behaviour in the last month and said, whatever you're doing, I need to be doing that. So it's so interesting, the range of people we're working with. I'm going to come back at the end and I want to give you the one word that will ignite anyone's motivation. So I've got some more value to offer you, but I'm going to hand over to Andrew. So let me just do an admin thing here. Swap over our screens. Do you want me to share a specific screen for you, Andrew? Or can you share
yes,
yours?
or share mine. I was going to scroll through mine.
Can you share yours?
To
make you the host, okay. There we go.
Thank you, John.
There you go.
Here we go. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate, we've got a lot of busy people on here. So having the opportunity to share with you what we've been doing with people just like you, high-performing people, as John said, barristers, judges, doctors, bankers, business owners, talking to professional athletes, actors, authors, pretty much anyone with a pulse can benefit from what we've been talking about today. And our flagship program, the way that we're working with the majority of our clients right now, is this 3-month high performance coaching program. And I want to take you through how that works. As an overview, I'm working with people over the course of those 3 months, 12 weeks. Are in that routine of, first of all, allowing them to use the book. So the Habit Mechanic book, I've got one, you'll have one, and I'll be guiding you how to get maximum benefit from that. So in the first week, you'll be directed to what you need to use in order to be maximizing the benefit of the second week, where we're having our one-to-ones. And then we're in that routine of light to heavy touch support, in between the one-to-ones, where we are using the techniques that John's developed and talked a little bit about today to design habits that will directly improve what you're doing. That routine of the one-to-ones and then the support in between is helping people like the judge, like the doctor, like the business owner in Australia, like the attorney in America, to set about their own particular challenges. There'll always be commonalities, but there'll always be personal specific things. And we're able in those one-to-ones to make them incredibly purposeful and allow the time in between to be beneficial, in that it addresses those problems right there and then, but it's also expanding your knowledge, your understanding, your skills and your habits as a habit mechanic. And in those final 4 weeks of the course, that final month, you're again getting that light to heavy touch support that takes you to the point where you are a certified habit mechanic. Not only have you built habits over the course of that 3 months, you've got the understanding that can actually help you after the 3 months, in month 4, month 5, month 6, deal with the new challenges that always arise all the time. Let's sort of think about how that actually looks. So in the first week, I would be helping you to actually understand what we're trying to achieve, because we think we know, but until we take part in these activities that John's outlaid, his fam story, the future ambitious and meaningful story planning tool that allows you to think about, well, what are my long-term aims? What's really important to me? Is it about where I am in retirement? Is it about where I get to in middle age or beyond that? And then what's that look like coming backwards? If I'm saying I want to be here by 2050, then what do I need to do in the next 10 years? What do I need to do in the next 5? What do I need to do this year? What do I need to do this month, this week? What do I need to do today? Because in the end, it's only today that we can actually really impact on. And we start looking at some of those destructive habits because we've all got them. Barack Obama, last time of writing that I saw, still smokes. Arguably the most accomplished person on the planet, certainly in the discussion, not being able to break a destructive habit that lots of people with far more modest professional accomplishments have managed to change, break that habit and never gone back. No matter how accomplished you are in various areas of your life, there will be habits that are getting in the way of things going quite the way you want. And we can analyze them. And then we can set about building more helpful habits. And that's what we do in week 2. The first one-to-one coaching session is led by you. You've analysed what you want to get out of that session. It's the first question I ask. It doesn't matter who I'm working with. Well, what do you want to take? What do you at the end of this session, what do you want? And we use that time to design the habit step by step. We create super habits using John's fantastic work. And they use the 9 action factor program, which means instead of like New Year's resolutions, they just tend to be nice ideas that are probably faded out and gone by second week of January. With the 9 action factors, we can actually outplan our inclination to return to, unhelpful habits, and we can maintain our ability to keep these helpful habits going to the point where they feel like second nature. You will find it difficult to remember why you never did this before. That support in between the sessions, it can be as light touch or a heavy touch as you want. It can be on pretty much any platform that you use, whether it's WhatsApp, email, Slack. We've got the Tougher Minds Habit Mechanic app, and we can help you with whatever triggers you need to help maintaining those habits, whatever support, whatever knowledge and direction you need to address those recurring problems that seem to be getting in the way. And then we're in that cycle of the one-to-ones where we build the next habit and we maintain and nurture the previous one, where we revisit the fam story, because we know observing things changes things. So we can develop, amend, sharpen, make that story even more meaningful, even more motivational. Help, here we are on a Tuesday afternoon, starting to get a little grey, a little dark here. And the inclination will be 3:47. Does it really matter if I clock off? Yes, it does. Not as a one-off, but if we continually clock off a little bit early, get a little less done, that's getting in the way of our big aims. And we can build habits of doing better and getting more out of our time. And I'll help you with that. I'll help you with that in the one-to-ones. I'll help you with that in the support in between. And in that final month, I'll help you however you need it. So if that means more one-to-ones, they are there for you. If that means lighter touch support, that's there too. And the really exciting and rewarding thing, I couldn't be working with a more diverse group of people. I think I've got people from every decade of life, from teenage years to 70s and everything in between. I've got people who are doing fantastic things already. I've got people who've got ambitions to do fantastic things and want to get there. And what they're all saying is that when you develop these habits, when you become a habit mechanic, then you spread your abilities into the areas you need them, and you develop the consistent changes in performance that you need to get what you're after. I probably don't need to outline the value of this to you. Whatever you're doing, if you're able to work more efficiently, more effectively, if you're able to contribute to your company's bottom line, if you're able to bill more for your time, then that's obviously got a huge value. And that's not even touching on the intrinsic value of having better time at home, being able to, a lot of people tell me I feel more present with my children, with my partner. I've got more time for supporting elderly relatives and all these sort of things. And you can't put a price on that. This course would normally retail at £4,500, $5,900 US. Currently, we're able to do that for half that price. And the good news for you guys, today, we can do it for less than £1,200. 1,569 in US dollars. So that's a limited time deal. We need to be moving on that pretty quickly, and there's very limited. My my email's been pinging all morning. We've got people. We had 3 people book on like after close business yesterday, just for example. So it's a really important that people move on this. So just to recap, how it works, you're thinking, and not on your own, not just ruminating, but clearly guided in this hyper efficient manner as to what you're trying to get out of this 3-month course. And then you're directly applying that to building these habits. So they're going to actually help you achieve that with the 9 action factor model supporting that. And with myself and my colleagues and the Habit Mechanic app helping you in between these one-to-ones. And that runs all the way through the first 8 weeks. And in that final month, you get the personalized support, as heavy touch or as light touch as you need. And in the end, you're a certified habit mechanic. You are able, and when anyone asks you, well, so what does it mean? To be a habit mechanic, then your only problem will be to try and be concise about it, because what I see with habit mechanics is they get incredibly passionate and they have just a list as long as your arm of ways in which it's helped them change their lives within work, outside of work, in whatever anything that they're trying to do. So that's what the 3-month program looks like. Really, like, if you want to book on, then I think John's going to share a link with you now. John.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. And I think that what is a habit mechanic? Well, if we designed this so you can coach yourself, that was the goal of our program always. It's to help people to coach themselves, and that's what you get at the end of that process. And then if you want to progress and you want to then coach others, you can become a certified habit mechanic coach. That's for a different day. I think also the good news is that we're able to offer a pricing plan as well for people that want to make pay on a plan. So I've put the order link into the chat there. Once you sign up, you will literally be able to book your first session with Andrew. Also, I know that some people might want to grab the limited place right now, but also you might want to have a chat with Andrew. So I'm gonna send you a link so that you can actually book a one-to-one consultation with Andrew, just to talk through any questions that you've got. So let me share that link as well now in the chat, and I think there are a couple of questions coming through, so we will answer those in 1 second. Let me just share this as well. So if you want to book a free one-to-one consultation with Andrew, if you've got any further questions, etc., you can book a call there. You see his diary is pretty busy. And also, just to state again that I say if you get one of the places right now, if you order, then literally you'll go onto this page and you'll book your first one-to-one session. So you can literally book your first one-to-one session in the next few minutes if you want. Those places will go. Andrew is phenomenally busy. He's the busiest coach that I know. So yeah, let me go on to any questions that we've got. So
Gemma's got a question, John.
Yeah, you can address that if you want to, Andrew.
So, do you have to go through this program in order to be a habit mechanic coach? So, the program that I've just outlined would help you understand what it entails to be a habit mechanic coach, and at the conclusion of it, you'd be in a great position to then decide whether you want to do that certification with John, and John's probably the best person to talk about that element of it.
Yeah, so that's a separate program, Gemma. It's something we can discuss. But yeah, it's part of the journey. You can become a certified habit mechanic. You can become a certified team power leader, a certified chief habit mechanic, and a certified habit mechanic coach, which of which there are then different levels of that. So yeah, we have an absolute end-to-end journey with you, because our mission is just to make this as easy as possible for people to help themselves and help others. So Stuart's asking, are you going to share a link to Andrew's diary, or did I misunderstand? Yeah, there is a link to Andrew's diary, which for some reason went somewhere different.
I can see it,
Stuart. Yeah, I've reshared that again. There you go, Stuart. So you can get a link directly to Andrew's diary. Yeah, so we've still got a couple of minutes left, so we're happy to take any questions, not just about working with us directly, but about anything you think we can maybe start to answer. We can make this sound very simple, but it's ultimately not very simple. It's complex, which is why so many people are struggling, and that's why you need to work with someone who's an expert. That's my experience of these things. We have experts for a reason. We can read the book, we can get some good information, but very, very few people are going to be able to just do it by themselves. So that's why we want to help people. So if we have any questions at this point, feel free to unmute and ask. But I just want to say, thanks to Andrew for taking the time today, because he's very, very busy. And thank you to everyone for joining and taking your time. And I hope that it's got you thinking. And this is the key. When you start to understand the brain states, and when you start to work on them and craft new super habits, and it's the super habit routines that are key, that we don't go into in the book. They are the key to plugging everything together. And this is all I've done in my adult career. I did an undergraduate degree in sports science, where I really fell in love with sports psychology, and it's all I've ever done. And I'm still working on this. Every day I'm working on it. But I know that without the tools, I'd be doing a lot worse than I am. And yeah, it's just so key. One of the interesting things that Andrew's too modest to say is that I mentioned we worked in education. One of the main groups, and I think someone mentioned case studies there. One of the subgroups that are signing up to work with Andrew, in numbers of which there are many, is actually people in their late 20s who are now in professional careers that first came across our program in school. So they are now paying out of their own pocket to do this training as adults. You could not get more higher testimony than that about the impact of the program. When they were teenagers, they weren't just laying down and accepting that this was all brilliant for them. They were fighting and resisting, but it helped them get massive benefits. And now they're seeing their adult lives in the complex world they live in, but they need further support. So I just think that is amazing. And that's Andrew's work. So yeah, thank you. People saying thanks in the chat. So thank you to you for attending. Really appreciate that. There will be a replay going up for probably for about 5 or 7 days. I'm not sure exactly how long it's for, but there will be one going up, and it will be probably available from tomorrow. So we'll get that shared around everyone. Again, if you're not sure, have a chat with Andrew. And he can answer any one-to-one questions. I appreciate people don't always want to ask in the public forum.
Can I
Gemma,
just jump? Yeah, is that all right? Thank you so much. That was absolutely fascinating. And I missed the first 20 minutes, so unfortunately, I'll go back and watch that. I know. Well, this is it. But I managed to kind of get to grips with everything. I personally I've got a coaching and consultancy business. And I work with education. So I've been in education for 20 years, leadership in education for 17. And I think part of the program that I offer, a part of me being an NLP kind of master practitioner is kind of leans on some of these things actually. But I love the way that you unpicked it at the beginning. And I just wondered, has NLP got a place in this? Does it enhance NLP? Do you disregard NLP? Like, where does that sit with you?
Yeah, so NLP is a tiny bit of this jigsaw puzzle. I'll speak very directly, Gemma.
Yeah.
So it's not to denigrate NLP.
Yeah.
NLP is not well liked in academia because it's not based on anything academic.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it's not useful. It doesn't have a place. But it's a tiny piece. It's about how we. I think in the 9 action factor piece, it's really driving towards mindset and belief systems, which is just one of our 9 action factors. So it absolutely has a place, but it's just one small thing. And I'm sure that you do more than just what's shown in the NLP piece. So I think the challenge with what's out there in the public domain is I was speaking to one of my friends I went to university with yesterday, actually, you might be on the call. And we were saying, imagine if we went back and worked with this professor who's pretty famous. We're pretty sure he teaches exactly the same thing today that he taught us 25 years ago. Because in the psychological fields, things are just not being innovated. They're using the same black box models that they've been using for not just 25 years, but for 30 years, for 50 years, for 60 years. Things like Myers-Briggs is based on some work that a mother and a daughter did, very well intended, over 100 years ago. They weren't psychologists. The reason for all that is because we've not been able to look inside the human brain until very, very recently. And if we think that if we want to make an argument that what we do to help people works, why do we have over 20,000 people at the moment being signed off on the sick with anxiety and depression in the UK? They all have access to medicine and to support, but it's not designed to change their behavior. So I'm sure you're doing fantastic work with your clients. But for us, the key is it's not just about helping people to know what to do. It's about helping them to practice doing things differently. Yeah. And not just to do it once or twice, but to habituate that. And that's what Andrew detailed there. It's a journey. We've got to take people on a journey where we make it really easy for them to practice, not just doing things differently, but thinking things differently. Yeah.
So actually, it would really enhance the kind of the toolkit, if you like, in terms of what I would offer. In fact, it would elevate it completely. And my other statement really is the fact that when I did my NLP stuff last year, £1,200 is incredible value considering what you get for that. So a bit of a shout out for you in that regard.
It's phenomenal value. Well, the price won't be like that forever. And yeah, it is. No. People are saying charge 4,000 or charge 5,000.
Yeah.
I haven't spoke to anyone in the last 12 months that said, I'm in coaching at the moment and it's amazing. Apart from our program, they all tell me like my work's paying for it because I wouldn't pay for that. Because they're just sitting in a room talking to someone and it isn't progressing them. They're not growing, they're not learning. So yeah, it is incredible value. That's partly because we're passionate about giving exposure, but the price will not be like that forever. And
my other question, if you don't mind, is put the hand up. If I was to perhaps do the course to be able to then go through it myself and to actually physically do it myself, would I then be able to move from there? How long would it take me then to be able to become like an accredited,
Yeah, so that's a 4-month program. That's that's the period of time for our level 1 certified habit mechanic coach. So that's the journey that we go on. And
I'm so sorry. My son just walked in then. I didn't hear any of that part because my dog is side barking. Sorry.
So to become a certified habit mechanic coach, it's a 4-month program. Yeah. That's it. Which we can happy to have a chat about that.
Yeah, wonderful.
So I appreciate people probably want to jump off the call. So thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much for your engagement. We are available. If you didn't get Andrew's link, you can just contact us via the website. The replay will be going out. I'm sure it will create more questions. So enjoy the rest of your day, wherever you are. And we look forward to seeing you in the app, on a call, in the next session. And we will speak to you soon. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Habit Mechanic podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe and tell someone else about one of the ideas or insights that you found most interesting.